Tonight on Nova, Stone Age cave dwellers found living in the Philippine rainforest. But was this story just too good to be true?
I am absolutely convinced that it was a hoax. And I'm convinced because I believe them.
I don't believe the Tassai are a hoax.
20 years after their discovery, the debate rages on. Can we unlock the mystery of the lost tribe?
Funding for Nova is provided by Johnson & Johnson, the signature recognized around the world for commitment to quality healthcare products for the entire family. And Lockheed, America's aerospace company, supporting math, science, and engineering education for national technology leadership. Major funding for Nova is provided by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting and by the financial support of viewers like you.
It sounds like something out of a Jules Verne novel. That somewhere, in a remote corner of the world, a lost tribe, untouched by time, still lives in the last tiny corner of Eden left on Earth. Imagine the excitement when 20 years ago, that tribe was discovered. The Tasadai, 26 men, women, and children living the life of Stone Age cavemen, unaware that there were any other human beings on the planet. Were the Tasadai really the people that time forgot? Or do these pictures tell the story of a hoax, one of the most elaborate in the history of science? The strange story of the Tasadai begins here in the Philippines, in the rainforest of the island of Mindanao. In the early 1970s, loggers were cutting down the rainforest at an ever-increasing pace. There were rumors of a strange group of forest dwellers living right in the loggers' path. And President Ferdinand Marcos's special assistant for national minorities, Manda Elizalde, had gone to investigate. Elizalde, one of the wealthiest young men in the Philippines, met the group first in June 1971. By 1972, through his private aid organization, Panamin, he was inviting the world in to see what he had found. The tribe called Elizalde Diwata, God.
Of all the tribes we dealt with, perhaps the Tasadai touched me most. Although they never realized that we were helping them in any way. They didn't know there was a country. They didn't know there was a sea. They didn't know that their land had to be protected. The simplest things that we had with our group, for instance, like rice, they did not even know what it was or even have a name for it.
The Tasadai live in caves. They make fire with a fire drill. They have no agriculture, taking their food from the trees and streams around them. They use stone tools. Their lives are so peaceful that they have no words for weapons, hostility, or war.
This brought to the group a certain amount of suspicion at first and then concern that we should do something more than just isolate or try to protect this area for them, that we should advise the scientific world that there are these people who seem to be very different.
Elizalde had learned of the tribe through a hunter named Defal, who had discovered the Tasadai while out setting his traps one day in the 1960s. Defal brought the Tasadai knives, earrings, cloth, introduced them to new sources of food and to trapping. There was even a joke that Tasadai history could be divided into two periods, before and after Defal. The Philippine government stopped the logging, and the scientific world savored the opportunity to study a living picture of our own human past. For most of our history, all of the human race lived as the Tasadai seemed to. As Paleolithic nomads, we collected food from the wild by hunting and gathering. We lived in caves or shelters, used stone tools, and wore plant or animal skin clothing. A crucial change began about 10,000 years ago in the Middle East, where we first learned to produce food instead of collecting it from the wild, by growing crops and domesticating animals. Iron tools came much later, beginning around 3000 BC. Could the Tasadai have been alone in their caves for 10,000 years? It was a tantalizing idea. These are the Kung people of southern Africa as they were in the 1960s. The Kung, like the Tasadai, and like a handful of other groups around the world, are hunter-gatherers. Because their lifestyle is so ancient, some scientists believe that hunter-gatherers may have a society and nature closer to that of our ancestors and might give us insights into our past. Were we, for instance, peaceful or aggressive? But all the hunter-gatherer groups we know of have long been in contact, however indirectly, with agriculturalists and the modern world. That's what made the Tasadai so fascinating. In their perfect isolation, they seem to present man in his pristine state. And they couldn't have come along at a better time, as anthropologist Alan Barnard explains.
In the 1960s, I think the notion of the primitive hunter-gatherer was more important than it is to us today. Perhaps it stems from the hippie movement, the flower power idea, and so on. I think somehow anthropology had its own notion of flower power, which was, for us, a kind of interest in primal mankind. People thought the Tasadai were the primal people, were somehow more original, more true, purer in spirit, perhaps because they were out of contact, it was said, with other groups.
The Tasadai became instant celebrities. National Geographic magazine devoted 32 pages to the Stone Age men of Mindanao, reporting that stripped of civilization, the tribe lived as equals, and that it seemed that one Tasadai man needed to work only 2 hours a day to supply enough food for his family. For their peaceful and affectionate nature, the tribe became known as the Gentle Tasadai.